Hello, my name is Tyler,
And my name is Talia
and today we're going to be talking about the hippie counterculture.
for our project for AP History.
Before the hippies, there were the beatniks, who came from the beat generation of the 1950s. The beatniks were a group of rebellious people that read and wrote various forms of media as a way to express themselves, for opposition of World War II, as they were old enough to understand the meaning and impact of the war but too young to join in. The males often sported loose-fitting hoop t-shirts, goatee beards, and sunglasses. The women wore mostly the same thing but subtract the beards and add tons of eye makeup. Eventually, the beatniks dropped their poetic ways and turned into what we know now as the hippies. The movement originally started in San Francisco, California, as a large multitude of hippies flocked to the corner of Haight Street and Ashbury Street, which came to be known as the Haight-Ashbury District. Although the movement arose in part of opposition to America's involvement in the Vietnam War, which isn't a coincidence considering their liberal and pacifist past, hippies were often not directly engaged in politics as opposed to their activist counterparts known as the Youth International Party. Average hippies were between 15 and 25 years of age. They were mostly white middle-class Americans who saw themselves as being misunderstood by society. Every hippie was different, but most of them didn't work unless they absolutely had to. They didn't go to church, and they freely participated in sexual activities. Many hippies were musicians, and they wrote music as a way to express their thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and ideas. They held many concerts in numerous places where they came together to drink, smoke, sing, make love, dance, be together, and just be hippies. Hippies used many hallucinogenic drugs such as marijuana, mescaline, psilocybin, and LSD as a way to escape reality and look within themselves. They often adapted vegetarian diets based on unprocessed foods and practiced holistic medicine. Most of the time, whenever people think of hippies, they think of drugs, parties, naked people, etc. The hippies did fit into each of these categories, but they also inspired a number of aspects of our country that most people don't know about, such as our clothing, our music, and etc. The 1960s was a decade that broke the traditional fashion trends and enhanced the rebellious sense of style among youth. Fashion took a major turn with bolder and strikingly bright colors in women's wear and new fashion trends including miniskirts, bikinis, tights, and go-go boots, all inspired by hippie fashion. Hippies also made a big contribution to the dissolution of sex as being a taboo thing, welcoming groups of people who aren't quote-unquote normal and fighting for the things they believe in peacefully, as they were open about their sexuality, far from normal, and protests against the Vietnam War, racism, and legalizing otherwise illegal drugs. The summer of 1967, or the Summer of Love, has often been referred to as one of the most important widespread social and political gatherings in recent American history. During the famous summer, over 1,000 people convened and relocated to Haight-Ashbury District of San Francisco. The San Francisco summer is often remembered best because of its cultural center of the hippie movement, where free love, drug use, and communal living became the norm. This period of time also helped spawn the ambiguous flower child that became a major American symbol in the 1960s. Many historians reclassified the Summer of Love as a major social experiment wherein people from all over congregated to question the social spheres and practices in which they grew up. By the end of the hippie movement, San Francisco's local government was paying over $35,000 a month for drug abuse treatment for the city's 10,000 hippies. It is widely believed that if society had listened more to what the hippies had said, many of the social and environmental problems that we face today could have been avoided. As Robert Howard states, the hippie movement that was created in the San Francisco area of Haight-Ashbury offered a serious, though not well-articulated, alternative to the conventional society system. Wanting to break away from America's values, hippies were not very liked. Hippies were often portrayed as criminals, subversive to the morals and best interests of the public. Therefore, their way of life could not be understood by the older generations and the government. Throughout the hippie movement, many hippie college students were threatened with expulsion and criminal record just for expressing their ideas. Keaton Kesey and the Merry Pranksters are remembered chiefly for their sociological significance of a lengthy road trip they took in 1964, traveling across the United States in a psychedelically painted school bus labeled Further, and for the acid test. Kesey believed that the psychedelics were best used as a tool for transforming society as a whole, and believed that if a sufficient percentage of the population had the psychedelic experience, then the revolutionary social and political changes would occur. Therefore, they made LSD available for anyone interested in partaking, most famously through their electric Kool-Aid, made available at a series of acid tests, musical and multimedia events where participants were given acid, the street name for LSD, and the young psychedelic music band, the Grateful Dead, supplied the music during these events.
In August and the summer of 1969, the Woodstock Festival was born. This festival was held for 3 days in Bethel, New York. The festival was a music festival made for hippies and people of all kinds to come and enjoy music and food. The Woodstock Festival, also known as the 3 days of peace, love, and music, was an escape for people of all walks of life to get away from the political horrors happening in the country at the time. The festival was created by 4 entrepreneurs looking for an investment opportunity to plan with each other. Those 4 men's names were John Roberts, Joel Roseman, Artie Cornfield, and Michael Lang. The festival was originally set to be held in Waukegan, New York, but due to some issues, it was moved to the infamous Bethel Woods, and it was a part of the counterculture movement. Counterculture being a stray away from the norms of society and what was considered to be socially acceptable. This brought much popularity to the festival, which could seem to be a great thing at the time, but turned bad very quickly. The festival, starting on August 14th and ending August 16th, had such a huge crowd that it took nearly a week to clean the venue. The festival had many musical talents there as well, over 32 musicians playing. This gave many artists a boost in their careers since there were so many attendees finding out their new music. It featured artists like John Lennon and Richie Havens. By having so many different artists, this is what made the festival so legendary. It was like the original Coachella or Rolling Loud. One assumed that since there were so many people and so much drugs being used at the event, that violence was inevitable, but this was not true. This actually stays true to the belief that hippies choose peace over violence, which was true for them. Also, due to the high capacity of people at the event, it ended up being free for anyone, so they can come without a ticket. So all in all, the festival was assumed to be a success, a great time for people to come and relax and enjoy music and food, which plays a major role in the counterculture movement. The fact that all of these different kinds of people could come together and relax and be at peace as one. Another great example of counterculture would be the movie The Color Purple. Made in 1989, it features a black woman in Georgia trying to escape the social norms of her role as a black woman in rural Georgia and finding her own voice, going against what people think she should be and what she's going to be for herself. But once again, many did believe that the Woodstock Festival was a great success, and that's also why it's still considered a legend now. But it's also many people who believe that it was a tragedy, and I'll get into why that is. When the festival was originally planned, there was very little just-in-case preparation. Many people were left very uncomfortable after the festival. There was an issue with food and water. There wasn't enough for the people there, since there wasn't expected to be that many people. The attendees at the end of the count of the festival was about 3 times as many people than were originally expected. A lot of people assumed that there would be food there, food and water, so they didn't bring their own, which led to a lot of discomfort for many of the attendees. There was also a lot of traffic due to the amount of people there. The huge mass led for most people not even being able to make it to the field and having to sit on their vans and trucks to be able to see the festival from afar. This issue only got worse as the days went on. As the festival continued over the 3-day period, more people started to come, and then there was really a problem because now the weather was bad. On the Friday that the festival started, the weather seemed to be nice. There was no rain, no clouds, and it was very hot outside, so you didn't expect for there to be any kind of rain. But as time went on, a storm brewed and covered the whole festival over the 3-day period. This led many of the people to be very uncomfortable. Being that the festival was being held in the woods, there was a lot of mud and cow manure, so there wasn't much protection for anyone there. Due to a lot of the cold, many people were left sick and some even died. But this didn't stop them from continuing the festival. Many people still stayed to listen to the rest of the music that was going to be played over the rest of the days, even though it was raining and was very mucky. Although there were many downfalls to the event, it was still a legendary moment in time for music and art. So much so that in 2006, the Bethel Woods Center for Arts opened on that same hill that the Woodstock Festival took place, and there are still being concerts held in that same spot today.
Thank you for watching.
And the next time you think of peace, love, and happiness, think about the people who fought for us to have those.